Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. A little bit ago I did a video talking about my favorite handhelds of 2025, and my favorite handheld PC of this year is the Lenovo Legion Go. I've already done a whole review about this handheld PC, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit more and how I've been enjoying it here about 6 months later. Now, if you watched that other review, you may remember that I got a loaner unit from Lenovo and I was kind of sad to have to send it back. And so ever since making that review back in June, I've been keeping my eye out for deals. And finally on Black Friday, they had a good deal for it. And so I picked it up. It's been about a month now that I've been re-enjoying the Legion Go S. And let's start by talking about the price because it's been fluctuating quite a bit over the past few months. And I think there's a threshold there of when it's really worth it. So as of making this video, the retail price of the Legion Go model that I recommend is $900 MSRP. And this model comes with the Z1 Extreme chipset that's been around for a few years. It also has 32 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of internal storage, and it comes preloaded with SteamOS as its operating system. And like I mentioned, the price has fluctuated quite a bit. In fact, right now it's $750 on Best Buy, but during Black Friday it was $650, and that's when I picked it up. And for me, I see $650 being the sweet spot of this handheld. $750 is still tempting, and I may have picked it up at that price point, but it was really $650 which made the most sense to me. There's also a cheaper version of the Legion Go S, but I don't really recommend this one unless you're mostly going to be focusing on very lightweight games and streaming, just because, yes, it is a little bit cheaper, but you're getting far less performance. There are also more expensive versions of the Legion Go S. There's a Windows version of this device. Same chipset, same RAM, same storage, but it comes in white and it also comes with Windows, and for some reason that makes it quite a bit more expensive. Right now the retail price for it is $1,030, which just seems insane for a Z1 Extreme handheld. Now personally, I prefer the white model over the dark purple one, and if the price was a little bit closer, I probably would have spent a little bit more to get this particular model, but because I got such a good deal at $650, that's why I went with the dark purple Legion Go S. I also just ended up putting a skin on it anyway. We'll talk more about that later. So long story short, this is a difficult handheld to recommend even though I'm enjoying it so much, just because I think it's a real good deal at $650. It's a pretty good deal at $750, but those are both sale prices. If we're talking about the retail price of $900, I don't think it's really worth it for a Z1 Extreme handheld right now. Now, if you're on a budget and you don't want to hunt around for sales and open box items, then my other go-to recommendation over the years has been the Steam Deck, but that's been a little bit more complicated lately as well. Just last week, they sold out of the $400 LCD Steam Deck model, which has always been the best entry handheld PC, and unfortunately, they do not plan on producing more of them. So the entry price for a new Steam Deck right now is $550. Now, that's the OLED model with the 50 watt-hour battery, so there's a lot of good with that handheld as well, but it is kind of a shame that we don't have that $400 option either. So putting it all together, I think that the Steam Deck OLED is still probably the best bang for your buck. After all, you're getting a nice handheld PC with an OLED display for $550, and it's super comfortable and it can play a lot of lightweight and medium weight games no problem, and a couple AAA titles here and there. But I also think that the $650 I paid for my Legion Go S is well worth it as well. There are many things I like about this handheld more than the Steam Deck. I think the controls and the screen are better. It doesn't have an OLED panel, and you can definitely see that it has more vibrant colors on the Steam Deck OLED compared to Legion Go S, but I also appreciate the fact that it's an 8-inch display versus 7 inches, and I think it makes a world of difference. Not only that, the Legion Go S is 120 Hz and variable refresh rate, which are features that I really treasure as well. Now, one thing you lose out on with the Legion Go S is the trackpads on the Steam Deck. You've got this little trackpad right here for like mouse navigation. I never use this thing in the first place, so if you are a trackpad user, then the Steam Deck is going to be the easy choice there. But all in all, I think there's a lot of good things with this particular device. The Z1 Extreme is more powerful than on the Steam Deck. We've got a larger battery, 55.5 watt hours, and we've also got more RAM, 32 gigs versus 16, and like I mentioned, better controls and a screen that I prefer. And so now that I have the Legion Go S back in my hands and I've been falling in love with it all over again, I want to talk about some of the good and the bad that I've noticed over the past month or so that are a little bit different than 6 months ago when I first tested it. Let's start by talking about my setup, because this thing obviously looks a little bit different than what you can find on Best Buy. So number one is that I bought the kill switch case for this from D-Brand. They've got 3 different kit options. There's the Essential kit that comes with the kill switch case, the kickstand, and just the skin. They've got a bunch of skin options. I think there are 23 in total. I honestly had a hard time choosing just one. At first, I was going to go with Area 51. I liked how it made the device look all nice and red. But then I also looked at Short Circuit, which had like this kind of oranger look to it. And then Cotton Candy actually looked kind of cool. But I settled on Area 51. And so this is the Area 51 skin right here. There's actually a slight texture to this topography map right here, so I can actually feel just a little bit of those black lines sticking out. It feels pretty nice. Putting on the skin is super easy. You just attach it, and then you can put the case on top. So this is going to be the essential case right here. It comes with this kickstand thing right here, and then the case itself, and then of course the skin. The case itself has the same texture that we've seen with all the other kill switch stuff from dbrand. So on the Steam Deck and the Switch, it's got kind of a sandpapery texture to it, and I love it. And this is one of the main reasons why I got it. I like the feel of the Legion Go S on its own. I think it feels pretty good, but it's a little bit bouncy and rubbery to me. I like how this feels just a little bit grittier. One thing I don't like about this case is that the kickstand is just permanently attached to it. On the Steam Deck, it actually had an attachment. You could pull it off, and so you didn't even have to worry about it. And I would much rather see something like that. This just to me is adding additional weight that I may or may not ever use. One nice benefit of the kickstand is that it does have 2 micro SD card slots, but honestly, I don't see myself using this thing ever. And it is worth noting that the overall grip case does make it heavier. It's 730 grams or so on its own, but 900 grams with the case on it. So it is adding additional weight to it. I still think it's manageable, but it is a hefty device. By comparison, my Steam Deck OLED with the same kill switch case and skin on it is 800 grams. So we're looking at a 100-gram difference between the two. Now, I don't want to turn this into a full-on dbrand kill switch review, but one other thing that annoyed me about this whole setup is that the circles around the face buttons are super tight. I had to apply and reapply the skin 3 different times in order to get the holes to be perfectly centered, and even then, for like the first day or two, the buttons themselves would catch on the skins, on the edges of them, and it was really annoying, especially because the buttons on the Legion Go S don't have a lot of travel to them. You can see that they're pretty well inset into the device. I think it's a good thing. I love the travel on them, but I did find that they were pushing against the skin on the sides, and it was really annoying. It was so bad that I wrote to the company when I first installed it, and I was like, I think that these are maybe a little bit too tight. Like, it doesn't feel very good. And, they didn't really have much of a response for me. They just said, oh, we'll send you a new skin. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really change anything, but okay, thanks. I appreciate it. And so thankfully, after about 2 or 3 days of use, I was able to kind of rub down the edges of it with the buttons. And so now they no longer catch. So that's a good thing. But if you also install your skin and you start to feel it catching, I would just recommend testing it out for a few days, and you might have the same solution that I did. So long story short, that's the essential kit. It'll come with the skin and then the case itself. And honestly, the main thing I was looking for was the skin, just because I wanted to add a little bit of color to my device. I thought that the dark purple was just a little bit boring. Now, for an additional $20, you can get their travel kit, which will come with this hard plastic travel case. It also comes with some stick caps that I never use, and so that's another thing you can do if you would like. But the way this works is that you essentially put it on top of the triggers right here, and then you just pull it down from the bottom, and so that will cover it up. So now I can basically travel with this. I can throw it in my backpack, and this essentially works as a case as well as, just the device itself having the grip. Now, I also picked up all this stuff on Black Friday, and there was a sale for it. I'm not really sure how much I paid for it, but right now it's $80 for the setup. That seems really high for a handheld cover. And it keeps getting more expensive from there. They have what they call the Ultra Kit, and that's going to come with 2 screen protectors as well, and they want to charge you $20 for that. I did end up getting their screen protector. Again, it was part of that whole Black Friday deal, and so it was a little bit cheaper for me. But I would say that, honestly, you can just go on Amazon and get some for a lot cheaper, and I don't think there's really a quality difference between the one from dbrand and those ones that you can find on Amazon. Yes, the dbrand one is probably a little bit better, but at that price point, it's really hard to recommend. So in the end, yes, this is my setup for the Legion Go S. I've got the whole dbrand kit, basically. So the screen protector, the skin, and the grip itself. I'm not really sure that this whole thing is worth $100 together with the travel cover. I would say that this feels more like a $60 product altogether. So again, maybe look out for sales and see if you can get it for a little bit cheaper. Now, personally, I don't think the Legion Go S needs the kill switch case. I think it feels just fine on its own. And so if you are going to go that route, you could always just grab a carrying case like this one from Amazon for about $30. And that's going to allow you to carry it around a lot more easily. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the things that I really have come to appreciate about the Legion Go S, starting with this screen. Like I already mentioned, it's not OLED, and so I don't think it has the best vibrancy in the world, but there are some workarounds to that. Now, one thing you can do if you would like is you can go into the SteamOS settings here, go into display, and there's an option to adjust the display colors. This will allow you to adjust the vibrance. You can see it's in the center right here, but you can go all the way to the max. You're going to lose a little bit of information overall by adding additional vibrance, but yes, if you want the colors to really pop, you can kind of force that here as well within the SteamOS settings. Personally, I've been adding just a little touch to it right here, so maybe like a 5% increase, and I think that's good enough for me. The big thing for me is that it's 8 inches with a 16:10 aspect ratio. That makes it a little bit taller than 16:9, and that is excellent in many ways. The resolution here is 1200p, which is very close to 1080p, but a little bit taller because of that 16:10 aspect ratio. And so I think that's a pretty good match for the Z1 Extreme chipset and the games that it can play and the resolution that it can output to. And the fact that it's a variable refresh rate means that if you're going to have fluctuating frames per second, which happens pretty often with these mobile chips, it's going to still be a very smooth experience. And so that's one of my favorite things about this display is that it's nice and large. And even though it is a relatively high resolution and you might not be able to get like a locked in 60 frames per second, it's all good because even if it dips down a little bit, chances are you're not really going to feel it. There are other reasons why this is going to be an excellent display as well. That 16:10 aspect ratio does really well when you're emulating 4:3 content because it's taller. And honestly, I haven't even set up emulation on this device just yet. I will probably do it here pretty soon, but that's another thing I'm looking forward to. Another thing I love about the Legion Go S are the controls. So this D-pad here is a shield style D-pad. I think it's got a good amount of pivot to it. It just feels pretty good. I honestly think it's a little bit better than the Steam Deck's D-pad. I also like these analog sticks. They have a metal band around the pole, which makes them feel nice and smooth as you move them around. They've got a little bit of a light tension to them, but personally I like that. And so I think that these feel very good. I also really like these face buttons more than the Steam Deck. I like that they're a little bit flatter and they also just have a really light travel to them. And so it makes it very easy to press them really quickly. And so when playing a game like Hades or Hades 2, when I'm doing a lot of button mashing, this feels excellent. So I really like the feel of this more than the Steam Deck. The overall comfort of this handheld is also very solid, with or without the kill switch case. I think it's a little bit worse than the Steam Deck. I still find that to be the most comfortable handheld to hold, but this one's a pretty close second. So all in all, it has been an absolute pleasure to play the Legion Go S, just in terms of the comfort and the controls and that bigger screen. The other benefit of this handheld is it comes with SteamOS out of the box. So literally all you have to do is log into your Steam account and then start installing and playing games. Now SteamOS is a Linux-based operating system. There are some games that are not going to work on this, Call of Duty and Destiny 2, and that's because they have anti-cheat and it's all Windows-based, and unfortunately it's not going to work on this operating system. To give you an idea, I've got 590 games in my Steam catalog. 512 of them are officially SteamOS compatible. There might be a couple others that will also run, but that gives you an idea of how many games are going to be playable versus the games that I actually own. And to give you an idea, it is very few and far between when I come upon a game that's just not going to be playable. It is a shame that I can't play Destiny 2. It's one of my favorite shooters, but that's really the only game that I feel like I'm missing out on. And the things you gain by using SteamOS, for me personally, with a large Steam library, is worth it because it gives me a console-like experience. I can navigate through here, choose my games, and then launch them. It feels very much so like a handheld console as opposed to a computer that just happens to play my games. So for me personally, I think it's worth the sacrifice to have SteamOS on this device, and I love that it comes with it out of the box. It is a very nice experience. The controls are very intuitive. I can press this top one here to bring up the SteamOS menu and navigate things like my library or my downloads, my settings, or I can also bring up the quick access menu. This will allow me to adjust things like my brightness and my audio, and then I can also go in and make some more deliberate changes here within the performance settings too. And then finally, the last thing I like about my Legion Go S is the battery size and battery life. So it's 55.5 watt hours, about 11% more than the Steam Deck OLED, and that's a perfect fit for the type of games that I play. I usually am not playing like the most heavyweight AAA titles, but something more like the medium weight or lightweight side. To give you an example, I recently finished Dispatch on this device, a really excellent game. We'll talk about that more in a second. And I was getting about 3.5 hours of battery life playing this game at 60 frames per second at the native 1200p resolution. And so that's a good amount of battery life for me, especially with an episodic game where each episode is about 45 minutes to 1 hour. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the things I haven't really enjoyed about this device. And the first thing is just the weird price points that we have here. Number one, this retails for $900 and I don't really recommend it at that price point. But if you can get it for $650 or $750 on sale, that makes it a lot more worth it to me. But it is a little bit weird that the price has been fluctuating so much in the past 6 months. I'm also worried that in the coming months, this thing will increase in price because of RAM shortages. So that's another thing I'm concerned about as well. I'm not sure if anyone will be able to get this for $650 new like I did. To make matters worse, I think it's weird that there is a huge price difference between the colors. I get that they're running different operating systems, but the white Windows version is $130 retail more expensive than the SteamOS one. When you factor in that the SteamOS version has been going on sale, it becomes an even more stark contrast. As of making this video, it's $750 on sale right now versus $1,029 right now for the white model. And it's pretty crazy to me that there's a $280 price difference right now, and the only major difference between them is the white color option and the fact that one comes with Windows and the other with SteamOS. So in the end, that's really more of a retail and pricing problem, but it is kind of weird how confusing this overall launch lineup is. Another thing I'm not a huge fan of is this little trackpad. So when I go into desktop mode like here, I can use this thing to kind of navigate around, but honestly, I'd rather just use my finger. It's a lot easier to use. And so this to me is kind of useless. I think it's only meant to be used for navigation, but even then, I'd rather just use the touchscreen. And the reason why I even went to desktop mode in the first place with this device leads into the other thing that kind of annoys me about this thing. And that is that it has RGB lights, but the SteamOS operating system does not have any RGB lighting controls in it, unlike the Windows side. And so if you want to adjust the colors on your SteamOS device, you've got to install something called Decky Loader. This is a plugin management tool that you can get just in a web browser on the desktop side. So just search for Decky Loader, then install it, and then just go back into the Game OS mode and then actually use it. Once you've installed Decky Loader and you're back in game mode, you can press the quick access menu button, and there's a little plug right here. This is going to open up the Decky menu, and you can tap this little store icon. This is going to give you a bunch of different options that you can install in terms of plugins for your device. And the plugin you're looking for is called Hue Sync. This will allow you to adjust the RGB lights on your device via this plugin. Once you have that installed, you can see it right here. You can tap on it. This will allow you to adjust everything. Now, I personally like the purple color that comes with the device. I think the purple and yellow in particular looks pretty cool, but you can adjust this to basically anything you would like. You can make it a rainbow color. There are all sorts of options here, so it'll really depend on you and what you're looking for. You can also make it like, brighter and more saturated, so you can adjust that here as well. So in the end, there is a way to adjust the lighting around your sticks. You can even turn it off, but it's kind of annoying that you have to install a plugin manager just to do that in the first place. This should work out of the box with the operating system. One other plugin that's really great is Steam Grid DB. I'd recommend checking that one out as well. So say, for example, you have like an older game like Half-Life 2 Update that doesn't have a very good artwork to it. You can then hover over it, then press the start button, and then after you have the plugin installed, you can change your artwork right there. And so it'll give you a bunch of different options, and so you can change that on your device to kind of customize the overall look and feel of it. And then finally, my last annoyance about this device compared to the Steam Deck in particular is the fact that this thing needs a little bit more babysitting than you may be used to if you're coming from a Steam Deck. With the Steam Deck, you can just start up a game and in general, it's just going to work. It's going to conserve battery as much as possible and everything just kind of flows really well. I think that this one needs a little bit more babysitting with this particular chipset and the official SteamOS. Now, luckily, it's not that much work. You can just press the quick access menu, make sure that you turn on advanced menu, and then here you're going to have a bunch of different options that you can change. For example, you can make a per game profile like I've done right here. I've set the frame limit to 60 frames per second. I don't really need to go beyond that, but you obviously can. You can also enable and disable VRR right here. And then finally, you can go and change your performance profile. So it can be under low power or balanced or performance. And you can even do a custom option if you would like. And so depending on the game, if you're playing something really lightweight like Ninja Turtles here, I'm going to set it to low power, 60 frames per second. I don't think I'm going to need VRR just because it's going to be a pretty stable 60 frames after that. And that's really it. And so within a lightweight game like Ninja Turtles, I'm getting about 7.5 to 8 watts of overall power draw. And that's going to give me, as you can see, 5 hours and 18 minutes of battery life. And I've only got 75% battery remaining in the first place. So overall, I'm looking at, between 6 and 6.5 hours of battery life when playing something lightweight. And I think that's excellent, but it does take a little bit of babysitting just to make sure that you've got everything dialed in. The nice thing is that it's a quick and easy way to make a per game profile. So once I figure that out one time for this one game, I never have to mess with it again. All the same, it is easier on a Steam Deck because generally you don't have to do these per game performance settings, which you can set up if you would like on the Steam Deck as well, but I feel like it's necessary on the Legion Go S running the Z1 Extreme. Okay, now that I've talked about like the good and the bad so far that I've noticed with the Legion Go S, let's talk about some of the games that I've been playing over the past few weeks and why I've really been enjoying them on the Legion Go S. To start, I've got about 30 games installed, and if you go through the library, you can see that they're mostly going to be lightweight games. I think the heaviest game that I have here is Marvel Spider-Man Remastered because I always want to get through this game. Honestly, I haven't touched it in the past few weeks, which is kind of story of my life right there. Like, I know I need to play that game so I can play the other ones, and I just never really get around to it. Instead, I've just been spending a lot of time with some of my lightweight favorites and then also trying out some new games like Dispatch. So let's talk a little bit about some of these games that I've been playing. There are certain games that are just staples for me. I'm not trying to beat these games in any way, but I just enjoy going through some familiar levels. Like, it's just the replayability of them. So Horizon Chase Turbo is a good example here. This is a really fun racing game, kind of in an outrun style. And so I do often play this one, but I never really progress in the game that much. I just try out a couple levels and enjoy that and then move on to something else. I recently did finally beat Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and so I've now been going through and playing with different characters and trying to level them up and trying to unlock certain things. You know, there are challenges for each of these levels, and so I've been trying to get those as well. Again, this is not a game that I'm really trying to progress in that much, but I just really enjoy playing some of these levels. Another game is Slots and Daggers. I actually made a dedicated video about this about a month ago because I was playing it so much, and I just wanted to talk about it because it's not a very popular game in general, but I think it needs a lot of love. This one is a roguelike slot machine style game that is also an RPG, and there's not a lot to it. You can usually finish it in about 6 to 8 hours altogether, and once you beat it, there's no real replayability after that. But I have found that I do continue to play it, even though there's no more progression that I can do, just because I enjoy the somewhat relaxing feel of knocking out all these enemies and getting a bunch of coins. And so this one's been a lot of fun, and even though I didn't expect to play it even more after I finished it, I'm still playing it. The game I've probably put the most hours into this year is Ball Pit, and so I've been playing this on various different systems, but I really enjoy it on the Legion Go S, mostly because these analog sticks feel just so smooth. This game feels like a mix of Arkanoid and shmups as well as Vampire Survivors. It's a really hard game to kind of describe, but once you see it in action and once you actually play it, it is a lot of fun. And so yes, if you haven't tried this one out just yet, I would recommend it. I think it's on Game Pass as well if you've got that, so you can try it out for free. I've also been slowly chipping away at Hades 2. I think I've got about 9 or 10 hours in at this point. I'm still nowhere close to finishing it in any way, but I am enjoying the overall process. It's not quite hooking me in the same way that the original Hades did. I think maybe the gameplay itself is just a little bit too complicated for me, and so I feel like there are more things I need to be doing. I think the story is actually a little bit better, but in general, this one just hasn't got its hooks in me just yet. In all fairness, it did take a while for me to really understand and appreciate the first Hades, and so I am going to give this more time. Another recent game I've been enjoying is Absalom. This is a beat-em-up game from Dotemu, the same people that made Shredder's Revenge, but it has some roguelike RPG elements to it as well, so a lot of replayability for this one. It kind of feels like a match made in heaven between most of the types of games that I play, and so I'm really enjoying this one so far, and I think that it's going to get deeper and deeper. But the game that's really stolen my heart over the past couple weeks, and the one that I've been playing the most on the Legion Go S, is Dispatch. This one is a story-based game very reminiscent of those older Telltale games. In fact, many of the people that are on this development team worked at Telltale back in the day. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm only showing the first few minutes of footage, but yes, this one's a lot of fun. It's episodic, so there are 8 different episodes, and they run about 45 minutes to an hour each, so it feels like sitting down and playing a TV show. You're going to spend a lot of time watching cutscenes and then choosing dialogue that will move it forward and make decisions along the way. And then the main gameplay mechanic is to dispatch these superheroes to different areas. And that comes in a little bit later in the game, so I don't want to show that off just yet, but that's actually a pretty fun mechanic too. Overall, I think it's a game that is best enjoyed in small snippets, just taking it one episode at a time, and before you know it, you will have completed the whole game. And there are so many cool decisions along the way that it makes me want to replay it and make different decisions the next time. In fact, I enjoyed Dispatch so much that I went through and bought a bunch of Telltale games. Even though I still own them on Xbox, I've been slowly moving everything over into my Steam library. So you can see I have the Batman games here, I've got The Expanse, and then also down here I've got, The Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us. So I've got the major Telltale games right there. And yeah, I can't wait to play these as well on the Legion Go S. And they're currently on sale on Steam. I think I picked them all up for, I don't know, like $5 or $10 each. I think it's well worth it. Beyond that, I've also been playing a couple old classics. So for example, I've been wanting to play through the Halo series, and I think maybe part of this is because I can't play Destiny on this device because of SteamOS, and so I'm like, all right, well, I'll play the Master Chief Collection. I'll start out with Halo 1 and then go all the way up through Halo 4 and then Halo Reach. And so far it's been great. I'm just playing the first game and I'm getting stuck in the cartographer level as always, like I did back in the day. I'm also playing through Half-Life 2 again. I'm still hoping that Half-Life 3 will get announced at some point, and I want to have the story very fresh in my mind when that happens. And so there's a quick look at the games that I've been playing lately and what I've really been enjoying on the Legion Go S. And I've got a lot more installed here. For example, I've got Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remastered. This is more of an aspirational installation where I do want to play this at some point, and I think I'm more apt to play it if I've already got it installed on this device. And luckily, a lot of these are very lightweight, so it doesn't take a lot to actually install them. And so there you go, that's how I've been enjoying the Legion Go S. I think it's my favorite handheld PC right now. I'm using it more than the Steam Deck and a lot of the other ones that I have here in my catalog. There are better handhelds out there, some with better processors or a better screen, but this one, especially if you can get it around 650 or maybe 750 bucks, I think it hits all the right points, and so that's why I've been enjoying it so much. In the end, if you've already got a handheld PC that's very similar to this, it's probably not worth upgrading to, but if you're picking up one, I think that the Legion Go S needs to be in that conversation because I've been having a great time with it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful. We will see you next time. Happy gaming.